Hello there and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Al24 Midnight News. I'm your host Abdurrahim Kashour, and these are today's top headlines. Algeria officially assumes the presidency of the Arab Summit at the level of permanent delegates and senior officials. Around 20 Palestinians were arrested today by the Zionist army during the storming of several towns and villages in the West Bank. Hello again and welcome. So, starting from Algeria, Algeria's permanent representative to the Arab League states Abdelhamid Shbira said on Wednesday in a press statement that the meeting of permanent delegates in Algeria addressed the political issues of concern to the Arab arena related to the Palestinian question and the situation in Syria, Yemen, as well as Yemen, noting that the important question that the document would be announced to the Arab leaders at the forthcoming summit.
القسم الأول سياسي.
The first chapter is political and mainly tackles political questions at the Arab scene, foremost among which the Palestinian cause, the situation in Libya, the situation in Syria, the situation in Yemen, Arab relations in general, Arab relations with other regional organizations, and the relations of the Arab world with its African, Asian, and European environment. The second chapter of the agenda deals with the economic aspect, while the third deals with social issues and files.
So Algeria officially assumed the presidency of the Arab Summit at the level of permanent delegates and senior officials at the beginning of the meeting of Council of the League of Arab States, a preparatory meeting whose proceeding kicks off Wednesday at International Conference Center in Algiers. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations Ambassador Nadir Al-Arbawi took over the presidency for the 31st session of the Arab Summit from Tunisia's permanent representative to the League of Arab States, Ambassador Mohammed Ben Youssef.
ونحن على ثقة تامة بأن قمة الجزائر.
We are confident that the Algerian summit, and with the help of all Arab countries, will continue on the same path toward unity regarding the main Arab cause, which is to end the suffering of the Palestinian people and to put an end to the hostile policies of the occupiers. In this regard, we would like to thank and congratulate Algeria for being able to unite the different Palestinian factions. Allow me now to invite His Excellency Ambassador Nadir Arbawi, Permanent Representative of Algeria in New York, to receive the presidency of the Council of Delegates, wishing for His Excellency and for Algeria all success in holding and managing the works of the summit on all levels.
Nadir Al-Arbawi also stated that Algeria aspires to hold an Arab summit based on common constant and which reflects the aspirations of the Arab peoples to more solidarity, cohesion, and integration.
إننا نريدها قمة عربية توافقية.
We want it to be a consensual Arab summit that stems from common constants and reflects the aspirations of our peoples yearning for a great deal of solidarity, synergy and integration. A summit that learns from the lessons of the past and collectively faces the challenges of the present and looks to the future with a comprehensive strategic vision in order to enhance security and stability in light of building bridges of constructive and positive cooperation with our Islamic and African surroundings.
جسور التعاون البناء والإيجابي مع محيطنا الإسلامي والإفريقي.
Mr. Nadir Al-Arbawi added that the summit takes place in complex international contexts and political issues that require coordinated and collective political and diplomatic efforts. Let's have a listen.
إن حجم التحديات كبير.
Undoubtedly, the size of the challenges is great, the situation is delicate and sensitive, and the aspirations and hopes of the Arab peoples are increasing in light of the continuation and escalation of crisis, regional and international events and developments. which require all of us urgently to coordinate collective political and diplomatic efforts, unify positions and formulate a common vision in addition to revitalizing the mechanisms of our joint work, renewal and development so that we can defend our interests, our just causes and our legitimate rights, especially the Palestinian cause.
The Assistant Secretary General of the Arab League, Hussam Zaki, praised the great efforts undertaken by Algeria to make the Arab Summit a success, noting that this summit hosted by Algeria is the first summit to be fully digital, or let me say, paperless.
I would like to highlight the fact that thanks to Algeria's ability to keep up with our unlimited demands, we will be able to hold the first digital Arab Summit with zero paper, meaning that all halls and tables of the delegates are equipped with digital screens, instead of the usual notebooks, summaries, and hills of papers. This came as a suggestion from the General Secretariat and was welcomed by Algeria, which offered to us everything we needed to hold this summit in a technological and digital way.
Preparatory meetings for permanent delegates and senior officials are continuing to discuss the summit's agenda as well as draft resolutions to be adopted by leaders prior to the Arab Summit Foreign Ministers' preparatory meeting to be held in 2 days' time in preparation for the summit. The permanent delegates to the Arab League Council described the Algeria summit as an important, especially with the great efforts undertaken to make the Arab summit a success, pointing out in a statement to Algeria that the international consent among the delegations on the majority of the issues at hand.
Preparations undertaken by Algeria and the Algerian leadership are tremendous preparations for the success of this summit. These preparations are praiseworthy and commendable. As I said before, we are optimistic about the examining of all the files that are important for the Arab nation and its future, foremost among which the Palestinian cause.
Everyone is keen for the success of this summit. Everyone is keen for the Arab reunification. Everyone is keen for the Arab issues that are important to all.
The media delegation associated the Arab League mission praised the level of readiness that Algeria showed at various levels in preparation for this summit.
Algeria's coordination and preparation works are huge and facilitate our mission as journalists, thanks to the equipment of the International Press Center, the availability of high-speed internet connection, and the technical equipment that allows us as journalists and correspondents to perform our duties in the best way possible.
Actually, we arrived yesterday on board the same plane than the Secretary General of the Arab League. We were warmly welcomed by the Presidency of the Republic and representatives of the Algerian Foreign Ministry, and then headed to our residence, which is equipped with all the commodities and logistical means.
Also in the same line of thought, the Arab Summit in Algeria's plans to promote joint Arab action in the face of current historical and global contexts. Miriam Zian tackled the story in this report.
Amid a difficult regional and global context, Algeria is all set to make the 31st session of the Arab Summit a success, and that is through its efforts to create the most optimal conditions for the attainment of the summit. Algiers has mobilized infrastructures and all necessary resources to ensure smooth progress of the big rendezvous. The summit will be the first zero-paper summit, a fully digital one, without the use of any document or paper. After 3 years of absence, the summit is slated for the 1st and 2nd of October in Algiers, with a record participation and pivotal issues on its table. This high-level meeting is an opportunity to tackle all discussions of interest to Arab leaders and peoples for Arab reunification. The remarkable Algerian diplomatic activity works to unify the ranks regarding the challenges facing the region, such as Libya, Yemen, Iraq, and Palestine. The Algiers declaration to bring together the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and the head of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, which was signed on October 11th, is a milestone in the triumph of the Palestinian cause. a fruit of the endless efforts of the Algerian diplomacy. Similarly, Algeria reiterated its constant position in support of Libya, called for dialogue between the Yemeni parties, and is working to restore Syria's security and stability, and will address all issues, including bilateral ones or internal crises of some Arab states. Economy, investment, and trade are also on the agenda of the summit in order to establish a free trade Arab region. Algeria has always stood for just causes and seeks for peaceful political solutions, and is ready to achieve unprecedented goals.
To a different matter now, around 20 Palestinians were arrested today by the Zionist army during the storming of several towns and villages in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Prisoners Club said in a statement that the Zionist army conducted a campaign of arrests which targeted 20 Palestinians from several West Bank districts. The same source said that the Zionist military forces stormed the northern city of Nablus from several entrances and arrested 2 Palestinians during this incursion. The occupation army also carried out a raid on the city of Jenin and Kalkilia in the north, Beit Lahm and Al Khalil in the south, and the outskirts of Al Quds, during which 18 Palestinians were arrested. The chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Omaro Sissoko, met on Wednesday with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukrainian capital, Kiev. The trip comes as a day following his visit to Moscow, where he met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who, according to the chairman of the ECOWAS, thinks that direct dialogue between Ukraine and Russia would be very important and desired.
We spent a long time discussing the signals the Russian side gave the president of Guinea-Bissau. I said that Russia wants to repair bridges, and I told the president that dialogue is happening, and I told him and showed him what is going on here. I also told them that for bridges to exist between certain countries, it is necessary not to destroy infrastructure in one of the countries. I think that then one can certainly discuss issues in the future.
My dear brother, yesterday I was in Russia with President Vladimir Putin, who asked me to pass on what we have just talked about, that he thinks direct dialogue between your 2 countries, which are sisters, would be very important and desirable. As for us, you can be sure that it is not only fertilizers and grain that Africa needs.
The United Nations Aid Chief Martin Griffith said on Wednesday that he was relatively optimistic that a UN broker deal that paved the way for a resumption of Ukraine Black Sea grain exports would extend beyond mid-November. Under the agreement, Ukraine was able to restart its Black Sea grain and fertilizer exports. The Ukraine export deal was initially agreed for only 3 months.
Large export across the Black Sea has had, as you say, we are keen to see that renewed promptly now. It's important for the market. It's important for just continuity. And I'm still relatively optimistic that we're going to get that. We're working hard. I think those are the words we're using. We're working very hard to do that. We went to Moscow, Rebecca Greenspan and I. We had very useful meetings there. I think we all understand the issues. We're very keen not only to have that Black Sea operation renewed for as long as the parties would allow, but also for the extraordinary work that Rebecca and her team are doing on removing those impediments to Russian grain and fertilizer exports to happen.
Russian President Vladimir Putin watched from a distance the annual exercise called Thunder, which uses test launches to examine Moscow's nuclear forces in a show of force designed to deter and threaten enemies. Hussein Burkan.
Russia rehearsed its response to a nuclear attack on Wednesday in an exercise involving nuclear submarines, strategic bombers, and ballistic missiles, at a time when tensions are high over dirty bomb allegation it has made against Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin personally oversaw the exercises by the country's strategic nuclear forces. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu told Putin that the exercises were practicing delivering a massive nuclear strike by strategic offensive forces in response to an enemy nuclear strike.
Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, in accordance with the training plan for the armed forces of the Russian Federation, under your leadership, training is being conducted to oversee the armed forces of the Russian Federation, during which the tasks of delivering a massive nuclear strike by strategic offensive forces in response to an enemy nuclear strike will be worked out. The procedure for conducting the training will be reported by the Chief of Staff, Army General Gerasimov Valery Vasilievich.
In turn, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russian allegations that Ukraine is preparing to use a dirty bomb are transparently false. The head of the military alliance made the comments on a trip to a U.S. aircraft carrier stationed in the Adriatic Sea and before the UN Security Council meeting at which Russia raised the issue.
Russia now falsely claims Ukraine is preparing to use a radiological dirty bomb on its own territory. NATO allies reject this transparently false allegation.
Kiev and the West say there is no proof of the allegation and that the warning appears designed to heighten tensions over the war in Ukraine or to serve as a justification for some sort of Russian escalation on the battlefield. Putin, who will chair a Security Council meeting this week, has warned that Russia has the right to defend its own territory using any weapon in its arsenal, but has not spoken specifically of tactical nuclear weapons.
And from Russia to UK, the new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had a busy first day in job. He faced Sir Keir Starmer for the first time, changed the date of financial statement and refused to call a general election. Nabil Khazini.
Heading from Downing Street to the House of Commons, he knew it wasn't a moment for fun.
Prime Minister.
Day one as Prime Minister in Westminster was already full of inherited challenges.
The Home Secretary made an error of judgment, but she recognised that. She raised the matter and she accepted her mistake. And that's why I was delighted to welcome back into a united cabinet that brings experience and stability to the heart of government.
The Rishi Sunak era as Prime Minister started with the making of a new cabinet. He reappointed existing ministers, brought back old hands, but precisely the first move has been criticised as how can he make changes with old faces related to the crisis that the UK now lives in. That's not the only thing he had to answer. The opposition seems committed for a general election.
We can all see what's happened here. He's so weak, he's done a grubby deal, trading national security because he was scared to lose another leadership election. There's a new Tory at the top, but as always with them, party first, country second.
For months, the country has been going through hardships. Jeremy Hunt was brought by the former Prime Minister Liz Truss, and he has been kept in office by his successor to play the heroic role and bring out new solutions in a bid to reassure the markets. He delayed the autumn statement for a further fortnight as he seeks more time to make the right decisions.
Our number one priority is economic stability and restoring confidence that the United Kingdom is a country that pays its way. And for that reason, the medium-term fiscal plan is extremely important. And I want to confirm that it will demonstrate debt falling over the medium term, which is very important for people to understand.
Rishi Sunak has decided to take the unenviable task of restoring the British economy and unite the Conservative Party, but with the continuing pressures he already faces, it is obvious that the path will be full of challenges.
Turkey and Libya have inked two important agreements in the military field, according to a statement of the Turkish National Defense Ministry. National Defense Minister Hulusi Akar met on Tuesday with Prime Minister of Tripoli-based Government of National Unity and Defense Minister Abdelhamid Dbeiba in Istanbul, where they signed an agreement on enhancing the efficiency of the Libyan Air Force and the training of Libyan pilots, according to the ministry statement. First phase of voluntary return of Syrian refugees to the country, organized by the Lebanese authorities in agreement with Damascus, began on Wednesday. Lebanese authorities says 751 Syrian refugees began returning to Syria under voluntary program coordinated by Lebanon's General Security, the agency which is responsible for safeguarding the country's borders. Voluntary return fights for Syrian refugees resumed on Wednesday after having stopped since 2019 due to COVID-19.
We want to go back to our country. It's about time. We left our homes, we left our land, we left our money, we left everything. I have been here for 9 years, and we are heading back to our country. We are relieved to be going back to our country.
Still in Asia, at least 15 people were killed and dozens were injured after a gunman opened fire at worshippers in Shia pilgrim site in Iran's city of Shiraz. State media reported on Wednesday, describing the incident as a terrorist attack. The Iranian news agency had earlier reported that the attack was carried out by 3 men. 2 people have been arrested, and the efforts to arrest a 3rd person are still continuing. The attack took place on the same day when clashes broke out through Iran as thousands of people came to the burial site of Masha Amini to mark the 40 days since her death. Coming back to the African continent, Burkina Faso's military ruler, Captain Brahim Traoré, has appointed a government of 23 ministers. The new cabinet will round the country until civilian rule is restored in July 2024. It will be led by Prime Minister Joachim Kiliam de Tambela, a 64-year-old lawyer who was appointed to the post on Friday. The new cabinet is composed of 5 ministers from the former cabinet of Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba have been reappointed to this new cabinet, which have 5 women, in addition to other 2 military officers occupy the key ministries to defense and security.
Alors donc, ce gouvernement aura principalement 3 objectifs.
This government will mainly have 3 objectives. The first objective, the main and the priority, is the securing of the territory. It is the securing of the territory, and that everyone can contribute to it. Every Burkinabe who calls himself a patriot can contribute to it in his own way.
Chaque Burkinabé qui se dit patriote peut y contribuer à sa façon. Le deuxième objectif sera de faire en sorte.
The second objective will be to ensure that the quality of life of Burkinabe people is improved. Purchasing power, healthiness, hygiene to ensure that Burkinabe people can live in a pleasant way in their environment.
Puisse vivre de façon agréable dans son environnement. Et enfin, le troisième objectif sera.
And finally, the third objective will be to improve the system of governance. What makes each time there is political instability? What can we do for better governance, for our country, for our society? These are the main objectives of the government.
Et à ces 3 points, chacun peut y adhérer pour peu qu'il ait un esprit patriotique.
And with this statement, we come to an end for our news bulletin. Thank you ever so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform as well as the L24, the official website. And for now, good night.